Look, you can show me an icy tundra if you want, but you've got to tell me what year it is. 1991! Why do they have to wipe Bucky at this point? Wasn't he wiped before he went into the cryosleep? Also, this book that supposedly controls the Winter Soldier is introduced here, but wasn't referenced in Winter Soldier at all. And Zemo found it buried in some asshole's wall in Cleveland, so how did they control him in the last movie? 20 seconds of interrupting Marvel logo. Why the hell would you rob police stations? I know there may be some extra weapons sitting around in the evidence room, but there's no way there would be enough there to make it worth it for supervillainy. Also, this article is the newspaper version of clickbait, as the article underneath it is some sort of vague, repetitious nonsense that's probably trying to sell Viagra. The other barrier on the left was still standing, and the truck was blocking the whole right lane, but seconds later, these assholes somehow drive straight through a wide-open entrance. Meet Crossbones! He'll be your expendable villain plot device for the next 7 minutes. I know Cap is impervious to a lot of stuff, but this gas is apparently pretty lethal if it incapacitated this dude immediately, and Cap's unaffected. He's also been developing an immunity to iocane powder. That's badass, but tell me, what kind of bullshit is this? How can a shield of this power bounce off floors and walls instead of just destroying them? And how did Cap figure out the geometry of that shot? I also agree this is cool, but why didn't he do something like this at the very beginning? Scarlet Witch helpfully throws the gas into the atmosphere, where it can affect many more people in Lagos. Black Widow can throw one of those taser things faster than this asshole can fire a bullet. Welcome back, 500 edits per fight editing. How's Scarlet's stunt double doing? Great, just great. Look, I have other people to talk to, but we'll have a beer later, alright? I know she's a badass, but come on. Black Widow just took out 8 heavily armed bad guys. Did the Avengers not have a drug testing protocol in place? What were these assholes doing this entire fight? Our comrades are getting their asses kicked, but we see no reason to step out of this tank and fire bullets at anybody due to our conscientious objections. She survives this. Oh good, another villain who thinks he can win a punching contest with Captain f***ing America. After Cap inevitably wins, I'm sure no one else will try this during the rest of this movie.
His name is Red Wing.
I'm still not thinking it.
He's cute. Go ahead, pet him.
Ha ha ha. While you guys are cracking wise, has anyone checked on Cap? Olsen Ex Machina. Welcome to comic book movie number 2 of the year, where heroes get all guilty about the innocent lives they kill during their missions. It only took 13 movies.
Be nice, dear. He's been studying abroad.
Really? Which broad?
Roger Starkling. Less than 0 CGI Robert Downey Jr.
Plus $611 million for my little therapeutic experiment.
It appears that Tony is merely being honored at MIT, but he decided to show the audience his virtual reality memory, which just so happens to be important to the plot of this movie. Also, he could tell these students he funded their dumb projects. Is this a hologram teleprompter? Do you mean all the students saw what Tony was going to say, albeit backwards, before he had a chance to say it?
I am so sorry about the teleprompter. I didn't know Miss Potts had canceled.
Even if they didn't know about Pepper canceling before the talk began, it was the last line of the speech, so they totally had time to remove the unnecessary reference to a character we won't be seeing.
Are you going up?
I'm right where I want to be.
Alfre Woodard somehow knew Tony would be not only exiting the stage this way, but also that he would bypass the bathroom and go straight for the elevator. Miriam wastes State Department tax dollars by leaving work, driving to MIT, and briefly f***ing with Iron Man.
Victory at the expense of the innocent is no victory at all.
Damn, it sure got all Dawn of Justicey up in here.
They're being very specific.
Unfortunately, her accent is not.
Mumlo said Bucky, and all of a sudden I was a 16-year-old kid again in Brooklyn.
You could say that the word Bucky is almost Captain America's kryptonite, or Martha.
Viz, we talked about this.
Peeping Vision. No? Vision Tom?
Captain Rogers wished to know when Mr. Stark was arriving.
So I came to Wanda's room right away.
The world owes the Avengers an unpayable debt.
That's it. He should stop right there. There's nothing else that needs to be discussed. Not Sokovia or Lagos or even Manhattan. They saved the universe multiple times.
How about dangerous?
As in Batman v Superman, the government comes in and explains that they're scared of superheroes now because of what they can do. And what's the difference between the two movies again? One's brighter and tells a few more jokes and doesn't suck? I mean, what's the difference?
What would you call a group of U.S.-based, enhanced individuals who routinely ignore sovereign borders and seem unconcerned about what they leave behind?
The Justice League? Ryan Lochte? Also, the entire last part of the Battle of Sokovia was the Avengers saving as many individuals as possible. Discount Quicksilver even died for a kid. Does nobody want to mention this?
Tell me, Captain, do you know where Thor and Banner are right now?
Of course he doesn't. If he did, this would be an Avengers movie, and it's totally not an Avengers movie.
3 days from now, the UN meets in Vienna to ratify the Accords.
The Sokovia Accords were approved by 117 countries, and somehow the Avengers didn't get the news until 3 days before the ratification.
And if we come to a decision you don't like?
Then you retire.
Apparently Ross thinks he's Thanos, considering he makes this statement as if he would have any say in the matter. Also, let's say the UN decides they need the Avengers for something. How does that prevent the Avengers from accidentally killing people? Hey guys, we need you, but let's try extra hard not to kill innocent people this time. Once again, I'm happy they didn't have to put the state or country that Cleveland's in. But do they have to use the largest f***ing font ever?
No cops.
This guy, who's definitely afraid of anybody who might come by wanting to steal the information he has, willingly opens his door to this guy without a gun and a story that smells of immediate and total bullshit. I mean, can't he just say that wasn't his car outside? Zemo's power must be X-ray vision, considering he found the book in an innocuous wall.
Hail, Hydra.
But the box of water stops before his nose and mouth, and the water is already spilling out of the box, so Zemo's plan is to wash that evil right out of his hair?
Since Mr. Stark announced himself as Iron Man, the number of known enhanced persons has grown exponentially. During the same period, the number of potentially world-ending events has risen at a commensurate rate.
But thinking about the conflicts that arose in the Marvel Cinematic Universe since Tony announced he was Iron Man, Thor came to Earth because of some bullshit that happened on his own planet, which brought Loki and some dickhead robot monster thing with it. The Avengers movie happened because of the stuff that happened in Thor. Iron Man 2 is because some dude wanted revenge against Tony. In Thor 2, the Dark World, something realm, something dark elves. Iron Man 3 happens because another asshole wanted revenge on Tony. The Winter Soldier happens because Hydra is still around, and Avengers 2 happens because Tony created Ultron, and that's the end of that argument.
Oversight is not an idea that can be dismissed out of hand.
Okay, but you just mentioned that the existence of the Avengers invites conflict. How would that change with any administrative oversight? Tony takes out his phone and lays it in a fruit basket so that it can play hologram footage of somebody's dead son. Gee, it sounds kind of stupid when you say it out loud.
Aren't you the same woman who told the government to kiss her ass a few years ago?
I'm reading the terrain.
First off, Falcon would be amazing at CinemaSins. Second off, this veers so off character from Romanoff that I can't stop saying off.
I just knew her as Aunt Peggy. It was a lot to live up to, which is why I never told anyone we were related.
Until now, when the plot demands it and I'm the featured speaker for her eulogy.
Mother, what are you doing here?
I didn't want you to be alone.
Also, I needed to give you and the audience some exposition and set the stage for the next scene. I knew you'd be here well after the funeral and didn't bother to call or text first. Wait, they just found this bomb after the van had been parked right across the street from the meeting? Don't they check that stuff before it gets to a horribly strategic location? He heroically jumps into the blast, but is one of the only ones to survive this. Also, who would have thought there would be a cataclysmic event during a gathering of world leaders? Well, if you hadn't seen Homeland, or Designated Survivor, or White House Down, Independence Day, Batman v Superman, or King Ralph. This burgeoning relationship, when you boil it down, is like Edward and Bella in Twilight.
Steve, something you gotta see.
You need to come take a look at this cock-blocking cliche.
At least 12 are dead.
12? Sure, there's probably going to be more deaths later because that's the way the news works, but that explosion blew up a whole city block. And I can't believe that when he told everyone to get down, that somehow saved a lot of people.
Most of it's noise, except for this.
Thank God Sharon is Peggy's niece and was here for the funeral and is in love with Steve Rogers, so she can pass him important information illegally. Also, why do they think he could set off a bomb in Vienna and make it back home in time to arrest him? That's a 12-hour drive, and everything else requires a well-known fugitive to go through airports or train stations, which I'm not buying, unless it's the Bucky identity. If Bucky's face is so well-known that the news can casually refer to him as the Winter Soldier, and everyone knows what that means, then how can he walk around without getting a disguise and without getting noticed? If he's been hiding out here for the last couple of years, more like Bucky rest, am I right? Does anyone want to shoot this guy anywhere but his obviously bulletproof hand? That's right, it took 4 cuts for that one badass takedown. Welcome to action movies in 2016. The shooter from the UN task force just fires with impunity without seeing there's another person there. It's almost like they'll accept some collateral damage for the good of the overall mission. Luckily, everyone can just blindly jump down onto this busy road without getting plowed into. However implausible this sequence is, I'm going to remove a sin for Black Panther being a badass. War Machine took so long to get here, they considered replacing him with Terrence Howard. We now take you to Vision and Scarlet Witch, the most powerful characters in this movie, flirting over some goddamn soup.
And what do you want?
For people to see you, as I do.
So, is this getting serious? If so, what's that bedroom gonna look like? Hang on, Google Maps tells me it's 18 f***ing hours from Bucharest to Berlin. There isn't a task force office in Bucharest or Belgrade or anywhere nearby. Even Vienna's closer.
So you like cats?
You're just now asking this? Even if they flew here, this banter should have happened long ago.
Your suit. It's vibranium?
The Black Panther has been the protector of Wakanda for generations. A mantle passed from warrior to warrior.
If you ask about the Panther suit, you'll get some heavy Wakandan exposition. Hello everyone, I'm Everett K. Ross from the Black Panther series of comics. I am not to be confused with Thaddeus Ross, the guy from Incredible Hulk, who also makes an appearance in this movie.
Why would the task force release this photo to begin with?
Seems like a normal thing that happens every time something like this happens, but Steve is suspicious of it. Also, you had an 18-hour trip in a van to think about this. I can understand you being suspicious, but isn't that your nature since Winter Soldier? Aren't you like Sherlock Holmes now, even though that's Tony's job? Hey dude, there are ways not to listen to this shit, right? Like talking? You've had a couple of years to create a defense against this. Cap and Sam must have stopped off for Starbucks en route to the holding room so that Bucky had enough time to provide the mission report to Zemo and kill all these government agents. Jesus, this fight is like trying to watch people play Marvel vs. Capcom and trying to figure out what the f is happening. Okay, if we have to remove 3 sins for this, I guess we will. Sin Counter will not be happy. Government agents and the rest of the Avengers took their union-mandated smoke break during the whole escape chopper crash scene.
Because I'm not the only Winter Soldier.
Remember, Bucky's only the Winter Soldier because Zola remembered he got thrown off the train in the first movie and went backpacking in the mountains to pick him up later for some dumbass reason. What's so special about Bucky that they needed to give him the serum in the first place? Then they kidnapped a whole bunch of people in 1991 and gave them the serum. And doesn't Hydra know the ingredients of this cocktail? They had access to Zola for years. I guess they didn't, because Bucky had to kill Tony's parents for it and set up this fight at the end.
They can take a whole country down in one night and you'd never see them coming.
Why haven't they then? I know in Winter Soldier, Zola said something about blah blah, take away freedom, blah blah, people resist, but if you have 30 super soldiers all created before the Avengers existed, then why not use them to do that very thing?
Who knows if the Accords will let them help?
But they're not ratified yet, remember? Bomb?
72 hours. Guaranteed.
36 hours.
Arbitrary timeline is arbitrary.
That's you, right?
I must know this because somewhere in this YouTube video you take off your mask 100 times, following the existing movie's patterns.
And I've had these powers for 6 months.
Peter's only had his Spidey powers for 6 months, but Tony's had time to scout him, study the strength of his webbing, and build a suit for him.
You can't overpower me.
I know I can't, but she can.
Why did she change her mind? She went from I've caused enough problems and I think I'm in love with Vision to screw it in 30 seconds. All because Hawkeye told her to stop moping? Wait, did Wanda just send Vision to hell?
Come on. We got one more stop.
Why does Hawkeye pick Cap's side? Just because Quicksilver saved him in Age of Ultron? You can't assume he'd go against the other Avengers just to give Wanda a ride.
Move, or you will be moved.
As entertaining as that would be.
It wouldn't. There'd be 1,767 cuts just for them to end up being friends anyway.
So if you come with us, you're a wanted man.
Yeah, well, what else is new?
So much for spending time with your daughter, which was the whole reason you wanted to be a good guy in your own movie. Cap and Tony take an hour and a half to start civil warring.
Your old war buddy killed innocent people yesterday.
And there are 5 more super soldiers just like him.
But what's not important to tell you at this moment is that Bucky had no control over his actions, because there's a complicated series of passwords that evil people programmed him with, and f it. Oh, come on. These webs are so strong that Cap himself can't get free of them, but Hawkeye's arrows are good enough. Ant-Man chooses to attack Spider-Man first, because arthropods, I guess?
You have a metal arm? That is awesome, dude!
Thank God they got a great actor. Got Spidey just right, even if he wasn't add-on. You know, thank God Iron Man decided to blast that arrow out of the air. There's no telling what kind of property damage that would have done. Don't worry, no one will be killed in the beautiful action centerpiece of this movie, so sit back and enjoy the other lack of stakes. Because we only know Steve and Tony's strong feelings on the Sokovia Accords, the other combatants in this melee start to run together. I've got to remember Natasha's on Tony's side because reasons. Rhodey and Vision are on Tony's side because they're boring. Black Panther's simply on the anti-Winter Soldier side. Spidey's in it for the money, just like the studios involved. Ant-Man and Hawkeye are on Steve's side because still trying to figure that out. Wanda's on Steve's side because of peer pressure, but I generally forget every bit of that after every 10 seconds of random hero and hero violence.
I didn't kill your father.
Then why did you run?
What kind of question is that? He was running because you were chasing him in a scary catsuit. Doesn't it feel like Scarlet Witch could just end this whole battle right now? You know, because she's the one who practices real magic.
You got hard, kid. Where you from?
Queens?
Brooklyn.
Does Brooklyn have that kind of hard reputation anymore? I mean, isn't Brooklyn one of the most gentrifyingest places in the world right now? I mean, maybe because Cap comes from old school Brooklyn, he still wears that like a badge, but I for one can't wait to decorate my Bed-Stuy brownstone with French coffee shop posters and my 3 bicycles.
I'll take Vision, you get to the jet.
By the way, Tony's side could stop this whole thing by simply destroying the jet or disabling it, but nobody's gonna do that.
All right, Sam, what's the play?
We need a diversion.
The Avengers always have these communication devices built into their uniforms, but if half of them are using them, shouldn't the other half be able to hear the same conversation? Did they meet earlier and determine which side uses which frequency?
This isn't the real fight, Steve.
It's just the title of the movie is all. Paul Rudd is such a goddamn national treasure and a welcome bit of levity in this movie that I'm removing a sin for his awesomeness. Vision finally decides to start visioning. Also, seriously, did this movie just have no clue how to use this character? All he's done is espouse random wisdom, cook, and wear some J. Crew.
You're not gonna stop.
What the hell has she been doing this whole time? She got knocked out of the battle earlier, so then she decided to hang out by the jet. She was going to be the last defense against Captain Freakin' America.
Heartbeat detected.
Why don't we just call this movie Civil Unrest, or Domestic Disturbance 2, the one without Vince Vaughn? What's so war about this civil anyway?
Sorry.
Just like my mom said, it's all fun and games until someone gets knocked out of the sky by an infinity stone and breaks their back.
Where police also found a wig and facial prosthesis approximating the appearance of one James Buchanan Barnes.
Zemo seriously found ways to do amazing things over 1 year's time. He's not only great with computers and decrypting classified documents, but also making a mask of Barnes that fools facial recognition software.
Get this to Ross?
Which one? Also, if he's sending it to Ross, why can't Tony also send the information to Black Panther, whom he knows is still hunting Bucky? Does this facility still have power?
Start facial scanning for this Zemo guy.
You seriously think I'm gonna listen to you after that fiasco in Leipzig? You're lucky you're not in one of these cells.
High-ranking government official thinks he's in a Transformers movie and ignores obvious evidence of an international catastrophe.
Did he give you anything on Rogers?
No, told me to go to hell.
Ross, who doesn't trust Stark when it comes to Zemo, suddenly trusts Stark in this situation and doesn't have him followed. Oh, how lucky, Black Panther just happens to be 5 seconds behind Iron Man, even though he was secretly following Cap and Bucky the whole time.
What was her name again?
Dolores. You called her Doc.
Steve remembers the name of some random redhead Bucky tried to impress more than 70 years ago. Okay, Cap and Bucky know the exact coordinates, and they have a serious head start. Tony had to take Rhodey to the hospital, chat with ScarJo, ride out to the wavy prison, talk to Papa Doc to get the location, then fly all the way to goddamn Siberia. But they arrived at roughly the same time?
I know that road.
You know that road? What about that date? Maybe that's more recognizable. Yep, just incredible footage on a tree-lined country road. Cam 3, as it turns out. Cams everywhere in the area. You never knew when Bigfoot might be around, and the footage was saved. Even though we're seeing this in full color, the movie's trying to say Tony can see this same angle in footage too, driving home the drama of his mother getting strangled. But really, all he'd be able to see is Bucky standing next to the car, doing something, probably bad. Presumably, this means he shot the camera, but it was conveniently impervious, considering we have this footage. Also, suddenly this movie is saying there was a facility nearby that could capture security footage. First off, that's terribly convenient, but second off, terrible nonsense, because there was no such place nearby in the beginning of the movie. Now Tony gets mad, even though he knows for a fact that Bucky had no control over his actions. Or is this movie saying he didn't? I find that hard to believe. And even though he just learned somebody framed Bucky 10 minutes ago, he gets blinded with anger. This conflict is as manufactured as it gets.
Did you know? Yes.
To be fair, the only reason he knows is because Zola showed him what Hydra did to people who work for S.H.I.E.L.D. in that bunker scene in The Winter Soldier. But then right after that, Hydra fired missiles into the building, and he had to make a miraculous escape, so it might have slipped his mind. I still can't believe this is the reason they're going to fight, though. Also, when would he tell Tony about this? While they were just hanging out? Hey man, I know we're at a strip club and stuff, but Bucky killed your parents.
This is all he wanted, to see them rip each other apart.
Yep, and just think, he could have done this by simply sending the tape to Tony with a little post-it note that read, "Play me."
We're miles from harm. When the dust cleared, it took me 2 days until I found their bodies.
But if they were together, how did Zemo survive?
If I could get them to kill each other.
Let's talk about Zemo's plan. The entire thing relies on Scarlet Witch doing something incredibly stupid during the Crossbones fight in Lagos. Without that, there would be no Sokovian Accords, which Zemo had no idea would happen when he started planning his revenge, and yet is a huge part of the plan in this movie. Then he plots to bomb the UN, frame Bucky, and somehow, someway, he knows Steve and Tony will hate each other over it, and he also knows Tony will figure out about the dead psychiatrist at the perfect time, learn the Siberia location, and show up at the same time as Cap and Bucky. He knows Steve won't tell Tony what he knows, then he'll lose all control, and they'll fight each other in this building. I mean, how did Zemo know all this? Just by poring over Natasha's WikiLeaks?
Analyze his fight pattern.
Scanning.
Oh, sure, you can analyze his fight pattern, but your targeting system a minute ago was totally messed up. Your shit does whatever this movie needs, doesn't it? Again, he's not gonna die. What a pussy this movie is.
All that time, all that effort, to see it fail so spectacularly. Did it?
Well, pretty much, yeah. I mean, Bucky lost an arm, but generally Cap and Tony are good to go for Infinity War. Unless they're saying there's more to Zemo's plan, like he's Joker in The Dark Knight, and he needed to be captured. More proof that the filmmakers lost sight of their vision. Stan Lee finally makes an appearance in one of these Marvel movies. Geez, it only took 13 tries, but they found a way to pay tribute to him. Whew.
I guess I thought by not telling you about your parents, I was sparing you. But I can see now that I was really sparing myself.
From f***ing what? Also, the "I didn't tell you so that I could protect you" cliche once again. Aren't you glad that you waited 10 minutes to see this thing and you have no clue what it is? Guess I'm gonna have to go research the shit now. Thanks, Obama.
What's so civil about war anyway?
Our very strength invites challenge.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate.
For more than a year, Donald Trump has been the people's champion.
They can take a whole country down in one night. You never see them coming.
I'm a surprise, Kevin. They don't see me coming.
I didn't kill your father.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Analyze his fight pattern.
First, distract target. Then block his blind jab. Counter with cross to left cheek. Discontinue discombobulate. Dazed, he'll attempt wild haymaker, employ elbow block.
Tony.
I could use a good man to help me get my project on wheels. I'll keep an eye out for you, and the chessboard ready.
So no matter what, I promise you, if you need us.
Should you need us? Yes. Should you need us? For any reason at all.
I'll be there.